Democrats face a new challenge in the coming weeks after Senator Ben Ray Luján of New Mexico suffered a stroke.
He's not expected to return to Washington until next month. This means, of course, that Democrats will have to shift focus yet again on bipartisan support if they plan to pass any legislation. BNC's Rarione Maniece joins us live now from Capitol Hill with more.
Kelly Nayyera, Senator Luján's absence here on Capitol Hill exposes the slim majority that Democrats hold here in Congress. Now, the fact that the Democrat will not be here in the Senate, Democrats, they must now learn to work across the aisle and hope to get Republican support if they plan to pass any legislation, which could present another setback to the president's spending plan.
We have all been thinking of Senator Luján and his family.
A health scare in the United States Senate could further delay Democrats' agenda.
This week, the House will begin to reverse.
Democratic Senator Ben Ray Luján of New Mexico is home recovering after he suffered a stroke last week.
Of course, we're thinking about him, his family, his entire team at this point in time.
The senator is expected to make a full recovery. In the meantime, until Senator Luján returns, Democrats' majority in the Senate is limited, complicating the party's efforts to pass President Biden's agenda with a simple majority.
I think we need to do as much of Build Back Better as possible, as quickly as possible, and take the segments that attract the most bipartisan support and do them right away.
Democrats are looking to retool the Build Back Better plan and possibly pass portions of the social spending package. But it will be an uphill battle to find a path forward with Republicans.
My personal opinion is Build Back Better is as dead as fried chicken, and good riddance.
Progressives and House Democrats are insisting Biden's economic plan still has life on Capitol Hill.
We're not frustrated. I don't believe that Build Back Better is dead. The Senate will have to work through its dynamics.
Now, once Senator Luján returns, Democrats, they still have their work cut out for them as they must still convince that key holdout, Senator Joe Manchin, to support the Build Back Better plan. His latest position on the spending package is that it's dead. Kelly?
Ariana, will Senator Luján's absence from the Senate complicate the process of confirming a Supreme Court nominee when one is needed?
Yeah, that is one point of concern, but Senator Luján's return is anticipated to align when President Biden is expected to pick who he will nominate to serve on the Supreme Court by the end of the month. But his vote could be critical depending on how Republicans respond to whoever the president sets to nominate. Back to you.
Let's bring in our political panel. BNC political contributor Amisha Cross, Mark Harris, director of pre-law studies at UC Merced and managing partner of the Ben Crump law firm. Let's start with you, Mark. Does Senator Luján's absence now give even more power to Senators Sinema and Manchin?
BBB is DOA. I agree. Even though he cast aspersions on my favorite food, fried chicken, I agree with Senator Kennedy. I think that Build Back Better is dead, unfortunately. It should have been done. It should have stayed connected to the so-called infrastructure bill. It was a strategic and tactical error for Democrats to let that bill go forward and not insist that Build Back Better go forward. Instead of 3 capital Bs, I think you can abbreviate Build Back Better with 3 lowercase b's. It's not going anywhere.
And to that point, Amisha, a lot of progressives had wanted to keep it all together because they didn't want to go through this piecemeal policy where you start carving it up and you don't get anywhere with that. What do you say about that?
A bird in hand is worth more than 2 in a bushel. At the end of the day, Democrats went with what they already had Republicans on board for and what they knew that they could continue to get across the aisle. Had they continued to couple them, I think that they would have run the risk of losing infrastructure as well. That was a dynamic that this president was not willing to take. What we do know is that in most presidential administrations, remember, this is still the first year for Biden, in most presidential administrations within that 4-year term, they may get one major piece of legislation passed. And I think that for Joe Biden, at this point, it looks like the only one that he may get out of this is going to be the infrastructure package. Because I agree with what Mark said and what we heard from the Republican senator a moment ago. At the end of the day, Build Back Better is dead. And even talking a coaxing conversation around it in its initial iteration is also dead. Whatever the name is after, it's been stripped down and certain parts are completely eliminated, isn't even going to be Build Back Better anymore. But there is no impetus for Republicans to sign on to this bill whatsoever in a midterm election year when they don't want to see Biden have a win and when they know they're about to, one, take the House, but they have a good chance of taking back the Senate as well.
Mark, this morning, President Biden at the National Prayer Breakfast called Mitch McConnell a friend, somebody who keeps his word. Is that still the Biden referring to a bygone era, or recognizing the political reality in front of him now that it's less than a 50-50 majority?
Both. Unfortunately, it's both. It's a recognition of a bygone era, and it's a recognition of where we are today. The Democrats have not been playing the game the way the game should be played to win. I'm very disappointed with what just happened with Senator Luján and his stroke. It puts everything at risk now, particularly in terms of the appointment of the next Supreme Court justice, as you've discussed many times on this show. It's a tenuous 50-50 tie with the possibility of the vice president breaking the tie. And I say tenuous because it's really kind of 48-50, and then the two that we've already seen, Sinema and Manchin, not quite being on board for most of the things that are of key importance, particularly those of us who consider ourselves progressive Democrats. So it's a tough time. I'd like to see this president look a lot more like LBJ than what he's channeling up to this point. If he wants to channel someone from the past, I would hope and I would vote for him to channel LBJ and get some doggone things done.
And LBJ knew a lot that was going on in the Capitol, and he knew the members of Congress, just as this president does as well. So to your point, you might have something there. But I want to take you, Amisha, to something that Cedric Richmond said. And of course, he's a senior advisor to the president. He says that we're going to keep fighting for this, build back better across the finish line so that we can ease supply chain issues, bring down inflation, continue to improve the economy, invest in American families, and make sure that we take care of the right to vote. Do you see any of that being possible as we go into a midterm election?
Not unless this president does or breaks up parts of this and issues executive orders on what he can. Absolutely not. Legislatively through Congress, with the Senate composition that we currently have, no, there is no way it's going to make it through. I don't think a single component of Build Back Better is going to make it through the current composition of the U.S. Senate at all.
Amisha, let's stay with you just for a quick moment because I'm reading your shirt. A woman's place is in, and I figure the rest as a House, the Senate, White House, or as we want to talk, I was going to say the Supreme Court. So continue on that idea. Right. So how is that supposed to happen now?
Well, my heart goes out to Senator Luján and his family. I think that at the end of the day, we have to remember that somebody just had a heart attack, irrespective to what's happening in this political field. With that being said, this does create a tenuous position for a president who was trying to use Black History Month as basically a leveraging an alley-oop point to nominate, to highlight the first Black woman who was going to sit on the Supreme Court. With that being said, if he has to push it out a little bit, his nominee is going to go through regardless. He's already got the two Democratic stalwarts on board to support the nominee. With that being said as well, we know that at least one person who is currently considered one of the top picks is someone who has already had 3 Republicans support her when she made it to the appellate court here in D.C. So I don't think that we're going to see a ton of obstruction there, considering some of the candidates, the wide breadth of candidates that he is actually proposing. But I also believe that Senator Luján will actually be back, even if this means that Biden's arbitrary line in the sand of when he wanted to have this nominee might be pushed a few more weeks out.
Indeed, and the most important thing is having that Black woman on the Supreme Court and having Senator Luján a full recovery. We wish him best. BNC political contributor Amisha Cross, Mark Harris, Director of Pre-Law Studies at UC Merced, and Managing Partner, Ben Crump Law Firm. Thank you both for joining us.